Så kan vi se, når den kommer live her. 10.
Det er sådan, når man melder sig til, og så venter man på stream-recordingen.
Ja.
Kan fast forward.
Boom. Okay.
Boom.
Now we're live.
Hello, people.
Now it's on tape.
All good.
Have to hide all the secrets now. But hey guys, good to see you. With me I have Andreas, Obel.
Yes.
And today we're going to talk about being a marketing leader and how to choose the right job. There's I don't know what it is with our trade, but a lot of changes in jobs, or the people don't stay.
There's a lot of churn when you talk marketing, right?
Yeah. So I think this thing about like how do you, or at least try to select a good future employer is a good discussion. But yeah, first of all, maybe I think introducing you would be a good thing.
Sure.
you know yourself better than I do, even though
I'm not sure at this point. Yeah.
But well, just disclosure. We chat on LinkedIn and Facebook, etc. when we need advice from each other. So we do know each other a bit.
And we just talked about children's names before this.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're there. All right. Well, my name is Andreas. I also respond to Andrew because it can be difficult to say Andreas if you're not Danish. It kind of rankles the tongue. I've been doing marketing, both B2B and B2C, in 13 odd years at this point. And I just joined Neurons, which is a phenomenal company, where I can maybe do an intro on that later without pitching the idea too much. And basically, I stumbled into marketing. I actually did. I'm just a massive nerd. Like, I played World of Warcraft for a great many years. And that kind of realization that you can actually take a skill, in my sense, it was copywriting, being a nerd, that I could actually leverage. So I got offered a job where I had to write SEO texts. I didn't know it was SEO text. I was just handed a list with, red carpets, green carpets, yellow carpets, and then I had to write 300 words per word, 15 articles a day. I churned so much SEO out, and then I realized this is not very fun. So I talked to my then manager, this was in 2008, 2009, and said, I think I can do more. So he showed me Google Ads, and I don't know, do you know Andrew Luck?
Yeah. Did you work with
Yeah, actually, it was the same company. So they had two Andreas that both respond to Andrew.
Yeah, great.
And it was just when I started, Andrew actually quit right then, started his own thing.
Yeah.
Amazing, phenomenal advertiser as well. And I kind of took over the Google Ads there, and that kind of just vaulted me into full-scale marketing.
And then, yeah, I guess it's also like during the SEO thing, you also started to learn a bit like how does Google work and
yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a lot about the data game, right? It's one thing is which data can we use to actually optimize something, but also what kind of information can I learn that I can then do shortcuts to reach the goal. And it became a lot about that. We ended up having, 100 and 120 Google Ads clients, and it was just me and one other person. Yeah, it was a lot, but I didn't know at the time. I thought this is normal. It wasn't
being like booked from 8 in the morning to 8 in the evening.
It was lovely. And then at the same time, we were like, let's start a deal site. It became a lot of work. Yeah. That was fun. Good learning experience.
I think like that's good for the next question I wrote down for you.
Yeah.
Like, what are some of the non-marketing specific things, for example, writing or other stuff that makes you better at marketing?
Me specifically or in general?
I think you specifically. That's the case, the best.
Well, me specifically is I have a weird mind. Like, I can remember and retain a lot of information, like a silly amount, granted for a short period of time. But that means that I can fix a lot of things. So basically, if you give me all the information you have about a company, I can retain all this information, look for possible solutions. Some of it are like half measures and so on, but we can get to the next step. And that also means I can learn at a rapid pace. So for example, when I've done consultancy work, that has been a sick game changer, because I can go into a company, I can just ask so many questions over a short period of time, and then we can maybe 10x something here or 2x something here. That's
nice. I guess that's maybe a natural gift.
Yeah, but we've done it as well, right?
Yeah.
So-
No, but I was more thinking, is there any like skill you can like other can like maybe yours?
So
is
more
like,
in general,
yeah,
definitely is being humble, I think. And I don't say that as a skill, but it's the fact that you need to fail.
yeah,
Like a guy I used to work with, he used to say, fail forward fast.
Yeah.
I like fail forward smart. So the thing is, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to, step wrong, step on the, something you shouldn't have done,
Yeah.
as long as you learn from it. That's also what I try to instill in the teams that I work with is make as many mistakes as you can, but just make the same ones only once.
Yeah.
Right? And that, sets a rapid growth pace.
I think that I think about this mindset a bit similar, but I think about it like think about everything as experiments. So you constantly run tests. Let's try it out. Let's see if it works. If it doesn't work, fine, we move on to the next one.
Precisely. Right?
When you find stuff that works, then like double,
Tweak it.
triple, 4x, 10x if you can, and put more into it.
Can I bounce it back? What non-marketing specific makes you better at marketing?
I didn't prepare for this.
That's why I'm asking. It's okay to fail.
Yeah, indeed. It's a good one. I don't know, man. I think I am pretty creative. So like quickly come up with more ideas on how to solve a problem. Like if this doesn't work, let's move on to the next one. Or
that's a strong skill.
Like like I would also say kind of empathy or something like that, when you're like trying to like if you want to get something to happen, think about what is the other person thinking, liking, wants more of, and that matters a lot if you do ads, videos, right, etc. And
then I think you're really good at building relationships. This is something I've noticed is you build strong relationship with a lot of people.
Yeah.
So there's always someone, who could bounce ideas off and so on. That's a strong skill.
I think, that when I run into trouble or like can't come up with any more ideas, and so I always just start pinging people I know something about things. Maybe just pause here and then say, like, if you're listening to us, do feel free to ask questions as well. We have planned like 2 sections. One section is the one Andreas's background and how you get into marketing. And then the other one is when you're starting a new job, how to select the right company, how do you prepare for it, how do you go on to achieve stuff. And then a last question I wrote to you about your background. Maybe you can mention just a few tactics or tricks, just anecdotally, that have worked really well for you in the past.
Sure. Well, we can take one data and one people related, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So on the data side, we ran a huge Google Ads setup, spending millions, and that means we accumulated a lot of data really quickly.
Which place?
This was in Illumi.
Illumi, okay, yeah.
And that accumulated a large amount of data. So what we did was try and build different audiences around that, see which performed, which didn't. Then we actually took one and said, what happens if we just target everywhere within our defined segment? And so no specific targeting, no keywords, just go broad.
No keywords.
So we had, there are exact match, phrase match, and broad match, right? And if you go exact match, this is exactly what you get.
Yeah.
If you go on broad match, if you search for blue sneakers, you can get, Foot Locker's address in Spain, that kind of thing. We just went fully broad on it and trusted that we had enough data to optimize. It completely blew every other campaign out of the water. Not just a little, but a lot. And shout out to Konstantin, who actually was the guy behind the idea on this one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
There's maybe like a little bit Google search ads nerdy, but I've stopped using broad match pretty much because like I think Google tends to show send all sorts of crap.
Definitely, it does.
So at least you need to kind of it's like a garden where like the grass continues to grow. So you want to keep down the bad search, like non-relevant search queries, 100%. Stuff like that.
Yeah, just to clarify that, don't go out and use broad match like that. It was a sick gamble and it paid off. What I'm saying is we had a larger volume of data.
Yeah.
And then we had enough data that we wanted to actually test something. It was actually kind of a happy little mistake that we stumbled upon because that was not the intended effect. But this is what happens, right? When you fail a lot and you learn from it, you can then move forward, and that's what happens. So on the people side, we had the same place, a very large amount of leads, so about 1,500 demo bookings in a month. And they all went into the SDR teams.
1,500.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
And when you get this amount of volume, there's some that are good, there's some that are not, there are some that maybe are good later on.
But they went as far as like requesting a demo?
Specifically, yes. So one of the people-related thing is they were all going to the SDRs.
Yeah.
And SDRs, I want to hands down say it's probably the toughest job in SaaS tech companies here. It's opening doors where people are trying to shut them. But that also means you have to have a very specific skill set. You need to be able to kick in doors and show value in a very split second, right? So we created an MDS role, market development specialist. It was just to kind of differentiate between the two. Basically an inbound and outbound SDR. Have you read Predictable Revenue?
Yes.
They kind of advocated this as well. So we tested it out where we took all the leads and we gave them to the new MDS here. And we just saw conversion rates soar.
And did this person report to you then?
Yes. It was a team of, I think, 3 in the beginning, scaling to 5. I, of course, no longer work in Illumi. I haven't followed what happened since then.
So like at our at Dreamdata, the demo bookings go directly to an account executive.
Yep.
But here you had like a layer before it went.
Yeah, I actually, I'd say if you have the capacity, like if the AEs have the capacity, then fine.
Yeah.
But keep in mind that the AE's job is not to contact leads, it's to close. Yeah. And closing doesn't only happen when there's a meeting in the calendar. The closing also happens when you play a game of foosball while talking to Steffen and say, hey, what do we do? So as long as they have enough room to actually close, it's fine. But I prefer having someone who can quickly talk, product, shop, talking to the use case, know how to speak to these people, convey value, get more people on the demo than actually do it. Sometimes they would even show the demo, right? Just a quick glance. Someone like you and me, we'd like a quick intro, right?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, this thing where this belongs, whether it belongs under the marketing leader or the sales leader. And I think, at least from my experience, most place it under the sales leader and not under the marketing leader.
Yeah. The reason why I want to say here, it actually moved into sales later on. Yeah. The reason why it started in marketing is if you go into a marketing role, even if you talk on the CRO level, if you take a marketing profile, you'll typically get a lot more focus on structure, systems, processes.
Yeah, that's correct.
And if you take a more sales role, obviously I'm cutting everything over in a small thing here. You'll get more coaching, guidance, energy. Yeah. So we put it over into my segment for process setup. Once we had that, and it was a thriving, top-performing team. Yeah. We actually put them back into sales because they wanted that energy and so on, and the performance kind of continued.
That's nice. Yeah. So the success measure was to get them to take another meeting in that sense.
The success measure was, I can't talk specific numbers, but what I can see is we wanted a lift in how many leads were shown into demo, which was their job, but also how many of those demos actually became a qualified deal. Yeah. And this is the thing. It's if you're an AE and you have a lot of work on your plate, you might go in and look, okay, this is probably not a good lead. So you might actively disqualify it. Yeah. What you actually want to do is you want to get the AEs to have enough room to actively qualify it, right? That was the MDS's job. If there was something they were in a doubt of, that's what they would spend their energy on. If it was a slam dunk, they just send it off.
Yeah. I just find this, like, the intersection between marketing and sales so interesting and important, because like in B2B, we can do the best marketing in the world, but if the salespeople don't pick up the phone when the demo is booked, or then nothing comes out of it.
Definitely. And on the other way around as well, right? Yeah. If the salespeople are ready to pick up the phone, but we take something terrible and send it to them, they're not going to trust the next 10 minutes, right?
They're not going to buy your beer either.
They're not.
Okay, let's take our first question before we move into your new job. So I'll just read it out. What are the major differences between starting in a marketing leader position in a healthy and thriving economic market versus times like these where it's more insecure, more turmoil?
I'd say it's a very big question for this particular thing here. But if I had to just really short give it a stab, I'd say it depends on the company you choose, because in every downturning economy, there's always going to be something that actually has a slight upturn. And Neurons Inc., which I've joined, is in one of those positions. There's an upturn opportunity.
Yeah.
So what we're doing here, while there is low saturation in the market, low ad prices, and so on, is we're building a presence. So once we get to the upturn, then we're there.
Yeah.
But in a smaller sense, there's more money in different times.
Yeah, I think it's a good question.
What would you answer on this one?
I think there's more conservatism in general. So take less chances, use less money a bit. At least this is what we see. And you can see CPM prices is falling because people aren't spending as much
Which
money.
is lovely.
If you have money, it's fine. But I think maybe you don't want to take those kind of moonshot ideas where 1 out of 20 works out.
Yeah.
But you want to go more safe. And I think the best thing you can do is show really tangible results all the time. And also if you can proactively identify ways to save a bit of money, I think everybody will be happy as well.
Yeah, and maybe to add on to that is also the other side of the coin, right? Which is, it's fine to save money. Everyone wants to save money. But there's also, when you join a company in a leading position, no matter if it's marketing, sales, finance, you're also hired for your skill set and your knowledge.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to come in and say, look, I actually think we should use money, but this is why in this area over here.
Yeah.
If you can show, some kind of win, just the minimum viable product type of win, you're fine with scaling it. So what you can do, instead of running big gambles, small gambles, and many of them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, probably most tangible thing would be to write down a list of everything marketing is doing right now and say, these are the things that make super sense, and these are the ones where let's give it a rest for now. Or
we actually did that. Yeah. So,
nice. Yeah. Let's move into the title then. So what to do in the first 100 days as a marketing leader? And I think actually let's start even before that with how do you actually, what was you must have done a lot of thoughts. You've come through a lot of good jobs in the past. And how do you choose your next job then? Do you have a mental framework for that?
I am in a very lucky position because I know a great many super talented people. So I didn't actually tell anyone that I stopped in Illumi. And then people started reaching out. So, the word kind of spread, which is just very unique position. And you probably had kind of the same ones, right? So I'd say if we just disregard that and think more in general terms, I actually accepted to go somewhere else than Neurons. And then Brian, do you know Brian Seiling?
Yeah.
He reached out and he said, I started this company called Neurons. I think it's going to be amazing fit for you here, and I really want you to work here as well. We have a good relationship with each other. He's a sales guy, I'm a marketing guy. And I said no. Then he said, for all friendship's sake, come by, just have a cup of coffee, meet the people. And I did that. And I said, okay, let's do this. So the reason why I stepped from what would you do over to here is sometimes you don't necessarily make the right choice in the first go. But as with marketing, have a large amount of data, right?
Do you think, what was the tangible things at Neurons then that made you get the right gut feeling about it?
I have I've done a large amount of consultancy work, so I met a lot of different leaderships, right? I've also worked with capital, a lot of venture capitalists, so I know kind of what that game is. When I stepped into Neurons, I met the CEO there, Thomas Suegar, I'm sorry. The dude is unbelievable. He's a scientist first, and he's a businessman second. And but that is amazing. That means the quality of the work that we do here is, I've never seen anything like it. So that was actually what it was like. That piqued my interest.
Was it the product?
The product is amazing. So maybe should I briefly explain what Neurons does?
Yeah, just
would that make sense?
Fly over it.
Yeah, sure. Just very short here is for the last 9 years or so, Neurons has been sent out to different companies. So Facebook, we've worked with TikTok, IKEA, Lowe's, Nintendo, which I think is pretty cool. The nerd in me.
Yeah.
They wanted to find something or figure out something. So they'll reach out to Neurons and they'll say, hey, how do people feel when this specific thing happens? We want to test these kind of people this kind of way. Neurons then figure out where are these people in the world, fly people out, put brain scanners on them, these EEG things you see from like Stranger Things, eye tracking, and they actually give people real environments where they're like, okay, just sit for half an hour, watch this TV, and then there might be a 5-second commercial in that.
Yeah.
They can then measure these EEGs, where you look and how you feel. Dude, how scary is it that when you look at a commercial of a car and you feel kind of sad, and someone poured millions into that? But over the last 9 years, Thomas and Mike, who's the CEO, they kind of scaled this whole thing. So now there's about 200 billion data points. These have been turned into a SaaS product. This is where I come in. This tool is insane, and that's actually one of the drivers for me joining.
Does it use the camera of the computer nowadays then? Or?
You can use that as well, but there's something in the quality of what you do.
Yeah.
So basically, Predict, as it's called, is you can upload a picture or a video, and it will accurately predict where people are looking. Now, if you work in demand generation or brand and so on, imagine that you place your logo in the bottom right corner. That's, by the way, called the zone of death.
Could you run like the front page of our website through it, and then
take one thing I did with I showed this to Dave the other day from Ocean, who, by the way, is an amazing dude. You should get him on this as well. And I just recorded one of the landing pages in a video and uploaded it. And then I browsed it as I normally would. And what you could see is where people looked on it. What was interesting was you can see, okay, this doesn't get any attention. The AI that's behind this is insane. It's the only kind of the world. Most, I don't know if all, but all the ones I've seen that are in the competitive space are built on like open source data. Lions in the savannah, or people shopping. This is built on actionable data.
I think that there's one good.
Now I'm pitching it. I'm sorry. It was just I love this. It's nerdy stuff.
But I think what I've been trying to choose as well has been like businesses that are like in a macro sense moving in the right directions. And so both is it an industry that will get will the cake continue to get larger here? But also then, is it like a quality product that you think will do well in the future? Because then all the tactics that you run afterwards, like if you have the macro trends going for you and like quality-wise, it's also this product in itself is also a good product, then you just set yourself up a little bit more likely to succeed with marketing.
Yeah. There's a lot of good questions on this, right? And we can talk about this for us. As you may have realized now, you just turn me on and I don't stop talking until you pause me.
So Joshua is trying to pause us here. He's writing, do you have any experience coming in as a marketing leader where either you or the majority team is remote?
Yes, but not where I actually work there, more as a consultant. I can't name the company, but it's a company that needs to scale their revenue from existing sources. And what happened here is that this particular company, they actually had a really good team culture in place. But the main difference is if everyone is remote, then it's just the way they work. It's more difficult if you have people who are actually this team is remote. So we had that in Illumi as well, where during Corona, people work remote. We started every morning with just a 15-minute call where we didn't talk about work. It's just like, hey, how you doing? I'd say if you want to build trust in your team like that, it's on you to make sure that the team has that trust. That means talk to people, establish the trust here. And if someone doesn't pick up when you call, that's fine. Did they reach the KPIs and all these things? It's so individual. But Joshua, I'd say on this particular one, talk to people.
It is.
What would you do?
So I'm. What do we do? I'm definitely prefer to have an office, and then
Me too.
Then you can work from home 1 or 2 days a week, but it is really tough, and you need to spend time together. I know. there's a lot of these remote companies that I follow where they do meet up physically, either just in their team or as the whole company, a couple of times a year. And I think this thing about, being able to have a beer or a pizza or something like together once in a while is definitely important to put in there. But yeah,
it is probably a lot on what the culture in the company is, but trust within the team comes from you first, and then your employees second, right?
Yeah.
You need to place trust. Costanella, just real quick, I can see you asked one earlier. The industry of that company was human resources, but it's been duplicated in many others.
Cool. So how much do you prepare before you start? Can you prepare as a marketing leader?
Definitely. Yeah. A very smart guy once said that you need a plan so you can deviate from it. And I subscribe to that. It's so before I joined Neurons, I'd actually made a plan for what I want to have done in the first month, in the first 3, and in the first 6. I also showed that before I joined and got buy-in from everyone.
I think that's a super smart one to do.
And also, I just want to really give a huge shout out to the team here. This was a 6-month plan. The leadership team in Neurons is so aligned, and the marketing team is so good at cooperating that these 6-month plan, we've actually achieved like 80-90% of it in 2 months. Now, the thing is, it didn't go exactly according to the plan, but I did prepare a lot, and then I asked a lot of questions. So once we actually start working on it, we freestyle a little bit, but in the end, we get to a really good place, right?
I think that's like for any kind of job situation or like job hunting conversation, going in and actually showcasing this is what I would do if it was me. Really shows that you can be proactive, you can think ahead strategically, and it's also transparent to show this is what you prioritize. So if they don't like what they see on that plate, then they probably shouldn't hire you. But
no, exactly.
If they do like what they see, then you also know that at least they've said in the beginning that they agreed that this was the right tactic.
100%.
What were I don't know if you can disclose some of it, but what were the things that you found out that you had to deviate from?
I wanted to work quickly on the amount of processes between sales and marketing. I don't really see sales as marketing as 2 different departments. Rather, I see it as part of the same funnel, but just in each end. But once we started working with it, I realized that while there was built a good foundation, it needed a good amount of work before we actually got to a point where, okay, we're happy, let's move on. So instead of that, the sales leadership, myself and the CEO sat down. I mapped out, here's the concept for solution. We aligned it to reality, went ahead with it. And we kind of, I think, doubled the amount of leads that go through now. I think
sales is not complaining then.
No, but I think they should. Here's the thing, right? Because there's, can I swear on this one?
Yeah, of course.
There's some shit leads, and that's okay. What we need to find out is whether they are shit or whether they're not, right? So we had to deviate from that. That also means at this point, we don't know where all the bad ones come from, but we can find out. Right?
Oh, what about that? Maybe there's a product for that as well. Oh.
Do you know any?
No, I've just heard about it.
Also, is it inverted when we stream? Can they see the logo right?
I don't know. Anybody can tell us where that logo is?
Does that say Dreamdata or like
something else? How much do you speak with sales then? Like on a weekly or monthly or
every day?
Every day.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say it's a lot about the relationships, right? For sales departments, most marketing departments will be, we'd sit around in a room, think about the color purple, and then we move on, right?
Yeah.
So there is sorry, it's because we can see the questions that pop in. So
we'll take that afterwards, Mark.
So there's a large amount of information you can get from just having a conversation. And I don't mean go in and say, how was that lead? What is the status? Like a weekly meeting where you talk about that. I mean, sit down, talk to something. A really good example is there was a guy called Jack I used to work with. We had a keyword called onboarding, which is around, at that point, maybe 10-15% of leads. I sat and chatted to him and he said, oh, did you know in England, it's not called onboarding, it's called induction. That never came up in any of the keyword research.
No.
We did it. added 100 leads,
Nice.
like just from a combo.
I think also like, yeah, I take part of the weekly sales meeting every week where they look at their pipeline, because you just want to hear what are these guys talking about. If there's something that consistently comes up, it should be on the website, so the salesperson doesn't have to sit and answer the same question every time.
Do you use Gong or anything to record meetings?
Not yet, but I know Martin, our sales leader, is looking at. I think I would actually love our salespeople to use that as well, because then identifying what people are talking about will be a million times easier. So
you can also transcribe, so you can search for it. But you use HubSpot, right?
Yeah.
You can actually do some of the things if you have the marketing suite. Just throwing it out there.
Let's just take Mark, since he just asked it. So did you talk about positioning and the messaging during the first 100 days?
Yes.
Did you want to like make it completely different, or were you kind of okay with what was there? Or?
Actually, yes, in some part. The thing is, before I joined Neurons, I'd actually seen the commercials. I'd seen the ads online. And every single time I thought, wow, this is so cool, but I don't have the time for it. And that's because I saw it as a complex product. What I realized is it's an advanced product. It's simple to use though. Like it's 200 billion data points, but for me, it's just a click.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about what do we call things. There's like, do you know what cognitive demand is? Neither did I.
No.
But that's the thing, right? So we're talking about what do we call things, because this is a scientific term and it's really important, but we need to maybe explain things better.
Yeah.
So do you know there's a guy called Piotr something, I don't really remember. He came up with this strategic messaging map. It's a framework for how you talk to stakeholders. It's amazing. So I always use that when I work with new companies. And
you probably put it in the chat afterwards.
I can put it in the chat afterwards.
Just write it
and
down.
This is strategic messaging map basically says, instead of looking just at your ICPs, look at which people do you sell to. If you sell to me, for example, you want to make sure that your messaging is about revenue, about people growth, about optimization, all these things.
Yeah, because you want to produce like
exactly.
business. Yeah.
That's what I value, right? But if I sell to Laura, who I just sat and talked with, right? She wants to maybe hit a quota or so on, right? So that's where the whole messaging comes in. There's what we talk about in the company, but then there's also what we talk about to the customer or the prospects. So we talked about both.
That's really interesting.
Here's the cool thing about working with the leadership that's aligned. Going into a company as the new guy and saying these things, you can get away with a lot of these questions because you're the new guy, so there's no dumb questions. So I'll ask all these questions, and that's fine. Thomas, who's the CEO, he said, that makes sense. The thing is, imagine working with the CEO where you say, how would you feel about this? And he goes, as long as we do it correctly and, it's by the books, it's scientifically correct, I'm fine.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Couple of things left.
Sure.
What is your area of responsibility? I think one of the, because if you look at the task list of a CMO, it's like nobody in the fucking world can do everything this well. So this is really one of my guinea pigs. When you take a job, you need, to make whoever's going to hire you ruthlessly prioritize. You cannot have all of this. So which things do you want?
I'm a little bit on the same side, but I would also say I was once told that there are two kinds of people in business. There are people who bring the problems, and there are people who bring the solutions. And it's basically, hey, this doesn't work. What do we do? Rather than this doesn't work. Here's an idea. So in the same sense here, my areas of responsibility is revenue growth through marketing.
Nice.
But I'm not a marketer. I am a growth person. I don't care if the growth comes from marketing or sales or whatever, as long as we hit our goals, right?
Yeah.
So there was some OKRs that was set by the business. I've challenged a little bit on something here, and the CEO also said, good, let's measure, you guys on revenue, which is wonderful. Obviously, that means we have to work closely with sales because, So the responsibility is marketing and growth, but that comes through a joint effort.
Yeah.
You know, Theodore Roosevelt, he had a saying, right? It's an African proverb. He said, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yeah, I didn't know that was him. I thought that was
No,
the African.
it's an African proverb that he used a lot, right?
That's a good one.
And it's so true in business. So all the stuff that you can execute on your own, run. Everything else, go together.
And so what does that translate into? Like, if you have to mention a few of the metrics that you are looking then at to deliver on that?
I look at all the metrics all the time. No, but seriously, I enjoy that part.
Yeah.
But what I will report on is, did we hit the revenue goals?
Yeah.
Yes, cool. Then I'll just give you all the proxy metrics.
Yeah.
If we didn't, I'll say, cool, this is the next step in the funnel. How many opportunities did we work with that happened and so on? And then I'll move all the way up until, okay, someone saw an ad.
Yeah.
So you can get all this information, but the C-level brief is revenue, why we hit it or why we didn't. What's the next step? And then whatever information you want, we can get that, right?
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, what is the tech stack for you do use for marketing at the Neurons?
Yeah, I'm one of those weird people because I don't look at a tech stack and go, nice, let's make a strategy. I make a strategy and then go, cool, what tech stack do I need to support this?
Yeah.
So the strategy that I started building required a little bit of a tech stack. Now it's been changing a little bit. And I'd say we use HubSpot. It definitely needs a complete revamp. Zapier. And
is
that's
it like
HubSpot
for everything, both sales CRM and marketing automation? And
yes, it is. Yeah. I'm going to publicly say this, and I will be named and shamed. I don't really like it for that.
Okay.
I think HubSpot is an amazing sales CRM, really good. Yeah. But the marketing thing, automation, is built in blocks. There's no flexibility in it. Of course, there probably is, and I just don't know it. I quite like, Elementor and WordPress, for example. You can build your own landing pages, forms, and so on.
Yeah.
So there might be a switch in the future to that.
So what would you go for a marketing automation tool?
It depends on what you want. I quite like ActiveCampaign and Zapier.
Yeah.
Like kind of that dynamic. I haven't yet found an issue we can solve with those two, but it's a preference, right?
Yeah. Let's before the last question, let's take Joshua here. So as a marketing department, how do you measure or attribute revenue? We marketers aren't customer facing. So how are we influencing that stage of, the funnel?
Sure. That's a good question, Joshua. It depends on the company you're in, right? So here, for example, I work with Brian and Tony in sales. And what we've done here is we said, cool, this is what we call an inbound lead. This is what we call an outbound lead.
Yeah.
We looked at the commission plan. We looked at everything to make sure it doesn't matter if it's inbound or outbound. No one cares.
Yeah.
We don't look at it and glorify one or the other. It is easier to close an inbound than an outbound. What we care about is the revenue. That also means when we measure influencing stage in the funnel, we just look at, was it an inbound lead? And then we attribute that back. There's going to be something where there's a split between this, and then we just put it either way, depending on what logically makes sense. But it comes down to how you talk to each other. Figure out what you want in the business. And Joshua, this is the thing, right? If you have an idea, bring that idea. Instead of saying this doesn't work to the C-level, go and say, hey, I have an idea for how we could improve something.
I think, obviously this is a question, if you use Dreamdata, this is answered out of the box. But I think what you should be thinking about is that to find what can be proxies for producing revenue later on. For example, demo calls. If you get people to book, of people of the right sort to book demo calls, that's going to become money at a later stage. So I think demo calls is a great thing to be measured on, because it's meaningful that you produce sales conversations to your company. Then it's up to the salespeople to then make sure they actually win the deals. And I think this discussion about marketers should be measured on revenue, or what should they be measured on? I do believe they should be measured on revenue, but it's what's it called? A lacking indicator. It comes very late, maybe 6 months later. So you need early indicators as well that the experiments you do looks to be becoming money at a later stage.
Yeah. You had a really good point earlier, Steffen, when you said you should look at people's motivation. And right here in this particular conversation is actually very, very true. Because if you if you use demo as an indicator, right, you will get people who will book a lot of demos.
Yeah.
If you use revenue closed, you'll get a people who focus on so on and so on.
Yeah.
What you need to
yeah,
of course, but
I think that's really worth repeating.
Yeah.
That you can have demo call can be a meaningful metric, but not if you're like blinded for what does it yield afterwards.
Exactly.
So start with what is most relevant for producing revenue, and then work your way back from there.
Precisely. So if you want to combine this, right? Look at people's motivations. So if you have a super good team of SDRs and you tell them we're going to measure on something else now, demo bookings, you get 500 demos because they're amazing. But what you actually want to say is we'll give you X incentive for a demo. But if you book a demo with an ICP that is something or something or something, you maybe 3 or 4 times that.
Yeah. Cool. Just finishing off, what's your ambitions for the work at Neurons, or where do you imagine, what have you achieved within the first year or first 2 years, or like where do you see it going?
That's a good question. I'd say it's not my ambition for my work. It's our ambition for our work, because it's a team effort, right? I'm just a dude who happens to fail so many times that I now know where not to go. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And then if I look at it like this, I think that we have a year from now, we built a huge setup where there's a large part that's automated.
Automated?
Yeah, thanks. Yes, English is a second language. And we have a team where everything kind of functions. People are not afraid of making mistakes. They continuously go and say, oh, there's an opportunity. They go and do something with that. We have cemented our thought leader position. Already now, we have 3 or 4 people in the leadership who are thought leaders within their industry.
Nice.
One of them being the CEO in applied neuroscience. So that's the approach. Yeah.
Okay, let's take one
Sure.
last question from Eric here.
Eric.
Do you measure and report on the same metrics for segments with higher ACVs, annual contract values, compared to segments with smaller ACVs?
So I've been there. It's quite new, about
or
2.5 months for now, and I'd say no. This is just my opinion, and I'm often wrong, right? But my point is the same way as if you're driven by goals. A lot of really, really ambitious people set really, really high goals, but they're not the ones who succeed. The ones who succeed are the ones that make something into a habit in order to reach a goal. The same thing here. If I measure, ACV, high ACV deals on one thing and small ACVs on another, what is my goal? So I would rather set a goal, make a habit of, this is what I want to achieve. So I'm not there. How do we get that number up there, right? So no, and I probably never would.
There's one exclusion I can see that might be relevant if you're doing really like 6 or 7 digit ACV, 8 digits maybe. Then you might be doing some account-based marketing where you probably just one of our customers I know, for example, measures amount of completed video views that goes into an account.
But I would challenge you on that. Is that an indicator of success?
The marketing part here is it's like a completely international company with even millions of employees. So what he's trying to do with marketing is to increase the awareness of you within their company. So that is his success.
And while it's one of those things where there's the whole conversation about demand gen and lead gen and so on. That's not what we should open here. It's an interesting talk, by the way.
Do another one.
Yeah, sure. But it's more about if you are a marketing leader or any leader in any kind of business, you should always think like the CEO, right? If this was my company, all the time. And in this particular case, I wouldn't measure and report on different metrics, because if we know that video views for a large company is important, why is it not for a small company? And the same way around, if you close 100 small customers with they click on your About Us page. Why would you not do that on the big one? But it again goes back. If you go all the way to the end of the funnel, you have a closed deal. Why was that closed? That's what I want to focus on. But we measure everything. We just report on, the last part of the funnel. I'm often wrong. I don't know.
And there's always different cases. But a good question, Erik. All right. Anything about like how to select the next job or the first 100 days in the job? Maybe if you look back now, you've been there how long time now? 3 months?
2 months.
So you're getting closer to the first 100 days?
Sure.
Anything you would have done different or something you're happy you did?
There's many things I would have done different. But again, I like the place that we are now.
Yeah.
And if I changed any of those things, we wouldn't be in this place. So it's always easy to look back. What I quite like is if we choose a path, then we stick with that path and we make it the best one at all until we realize, we need to deviate, right? Yeah. So I'd say there's always something we can do better, but it's better to focus on, okay, what can we do in the future? Something that I quite like that went well is actually how the team greeted me. They were super open, super humble, super, modest. Nice. But they're all really, really skilled individuals, right? And so when I joined that company, I actually want to preface this by saying something. If you're actively looking for something, or if you're entering for a leadership role in any company, do this. When you interview, ask to talk to the HR, people and culture person without anyone else from leadership present. And do the same with the team that you're going to be managing. So I did the same thing here, and I asked the same thing of both. I asked our people and culture, do you feel like you're heard? Is your opinion valued? Yeah. I did the same in marketing. Both did. So I knew this is a good fit, right? Nice. And that is actually something where, that is what I would call success is everything I was sold, the box also contained that.
Super nice. Cool. Let's say that's it for now. You have a newborn kid. You need
I became a father 2 days ago. I'm running on 2 hours of sleep and just all the caffeine in the world.
Good stuff, guys. Thank you so much for following along. And if you have ideas for new guests we should have, just pitch me and we'll find out. Have a great day, guys.